Welcome to another episode of Wellmeister Speaks podcast.
The equivalent of love is forgiveness. You cannot love without forgiveness.
Lumabalin ka nagiti yung generation anda kumamot nga mapasaran.
Nagdag nga morning mo ako El Maestro.
Tanya deh kung nanay tayo may isa.
I-appeal mo.
Buhayin.
Apil ko man ka nagiti ko. Pipi ako man pilit ganyan. Tutok na.
Di pa nag-approach mo rin?
Approach. Dita. Nang nangag ko nga ibagbagan pa lang ni Lola kiti.
You better know the substance of the law.
Bayaw mo nang ibagas ni Manong.
And who cares if people have dark skin, right?
Kaanakan iti with expiration.
You find any inspiration in this we have done, and you have done your noble part.
Alright, welcome once again to another episode of Wellmeister Speaks podcast. Coming to you wherever you are in the world. Just trying this introduction. Maybe I got used to radio. Anyway, so this is another solo podcast. We'll be having guests soon, pretty soon. And tonight, I would be talking about, of course, history. But today we'll be talking about history itself. What is history? So, we've been having this conversation before because of this thing that's happening right now here in the Philippines. We have this new movie coming up entitled Made in Malacanang. And it's depicting yung last 48 hours ng mga Marcoses. 48, I think it's 48 hours according to what I read. 48 hours of the Marcoses in Malacanang as accordingly witnessed by the mains. Alright, so, and here comes a line by the actress na ang history ay parang chismis. And so today we'll be talking about history, and I'll be sharing my views on this matter. And again, this is a very hot topic. I don't like to dip my fingers into it, but then since we are discussing history, particularly Igor history, it is, I think, in our line of theme to talk about history itself. I'm sure you guys listening and you guys watching in YouTube and all the audio apps would agree. So I would like to share my views, and if my views won't agree to what you have or your point of view, then don't hate me. This is my point of view, and I'm not married to my opinion. I can change my opinion as long as you argue with me and you back it up with evidence, things like that. Yeah. Alright, so to start with, let us talk about history. So when we say history, according to the internet, now forgive me here because I have not prepared a lot of materials here. I cannot been busy for a while, and I'm a little bit disappointed since in my job, since you do things and then at the end will be boiled down to a number. All the things you've been doing must be boiled down and must be interpreted to a number, and then you got a number that seems to not reflect the things that you've done, and then you know it drains your spirit a bit. It disappoint you. That's the word. I think there's if there's a worse word than disappoint, that would be the word for it. It takes of your energy to do things and disturb side projects like this. Anyway, thanks to brewed coffee, I was able to get through doing another episode of this podcast. Well, anyway, so when we talk about history, according to Francesca Morfakis, I don't know how to pronounce your family name, I'm sorry, PhD candidate in history at at the University of Leeds. History is the study of people, actions, decisions, interactions, and behaviors. So, history is narratives. From chaos comes order. We seek to understand the past by determining and ordering facts. And from these narratives, we hope to explain the decisions and processes which shape our existence. Perhaps we might even distill patterns and lessons to guide but never to determine our responses to the challenges faced today. History is the study of people, actions, decisions, interactions, and behaviors. It is so compelling a subject because it encapsulates themes which expose human condition in all its guises and that resonates throughout time. Power, weakness, corruption, tragedy, triumph. Nowhere are these themes clearer than in political history. Still, necessary core of the field and the most meaningful of the myriad approaches to study of history. Yet political history has fallen out of fashion. So basically, she's telling here that history is the study of of people, like what he said there, of their actions, their decisions, interactions, and behaviors accordingly. Now, um, to summarize it up, there are we. How do we gather data? So, history is the recording of things that happens in the past. Just put it bluntly and plainly, without reading any articles from the internet. So that's how we do it, right? So history are recorded facts, and of course, um, these records can be validated by how. Okay, we have to if there's an incident in the history, we have to look at it um, in the eye of an economist, in the eye of a politician, in the eye of we have to look at it in different aspect, and we have to compare the information coming out if those are true or not. So that's how we are going to validate history, my point of view, right? So history are recorded facts and corroborated and supported by evidences, maybe through um, research by experts and archaeologists that can be done, and more maybe through writings from that era, right? Now let's just establish that that is history. Now there are a lot of things uh, coming out, like say for example, we have this. Uh, we have the excuse me, the quote that history is written by the victor. And if you were looking at it, it can make sense. Say for example, during the time or the earlier times where people conquer people, like say for example, Group A, the Vikings conquered another, you know, kind of people, and they won. And they have a scribe or a writer writing the story. They can write an article saying that the people they conquered are this kind of people, that they are evil, that they do this one and they did that one, and because those people were beaten, they lost the war and they cannot do anything. Then the future generations might believe that those people are those kind of people that was written by the scribes of the Vikings, things like that, right? If there are no evidences that will surviving that will oppose those kind of writings, so that is a valid statement, maybe. But nowadays, is that or is that code still applicable in our era? Let's say, for example, in the era of just say starting from the 1900s, when people are starting to write newspapers, starting from the 1900s or 1800s, earlier 1800s, up to nowadays, can that still apply when we are viewing history? Can history still be written by victors during the modern times? I would say not so much. Why? Because um, even if say for example, in the war between Russia and Ukraine, and let's say Russia will win, and they will write stories saying things about how they saved the world by beating the Ukrainians. Another other documentations. I mean, nowadays, especially nowadays, there are a lot of videos, there are a lot of recordings of things. Anyone can record history now, and that will oppose a propaganda that will be written by the victor, right? Even as early as 1800s, those kind of writings, say they call it propaganda in English. Tawag natin sa Tagalog ay ano. It's the same. So, even in the 1800s, propaganda, well-written propaganda can still be called out by someone during those times. Right? Though some may can still go through some cracks of, you know, our guardful eyes of other people or historians. Well, those ones are corrected as time goes by. So we say truth can never hide itself. It's very difficult. As time goes by, truth will eventually come out. You know? Nonetheless, even though it will find a way for itself to come out. So far we have talked about history, and that history are recordings of the events that happened in the past that is corroborated by evidence, supported by evidence, and that the word history is written by the victor hardly applies in the modern world, right? And before we go on, let's move on and have some of our sponsors.
Sponsor Time! So this podcast is brought to you by Dems Auto Performance. Dems Auto Performance Shop offers automotive servicing. Nag-verify sila ng kahit anong klase ng sasakyan. Huwag lang eroplano. Located at Alapang, Trinidad, Benguet. Of course, they also offer off-road servicing. Sa mga naglalaro ng off-road, gusto mong pa-convert ang sasakyan sa off-road, you can visit Dems Auto Performance at Alapang, Trinidad, Benguet. Or you can also visit their Facebook page, Dems Auto.
All right, and we're back. So, history written by the victor hardly applies nowadays, right? All right, and then we have this word here that I left a while back. that says that the truth, no matter how long it will take, will always come out. All right. So now, but there are some times, there are times that history is, or sometimes data or narratives of history is wrong. Yes, there are. There are histories, or there are narratives that we consider history that is right now found out to be not correct at all, right? Now, like what I'm saying a while back, that the truth will eventually come out, right? And that is where the revisionism will come in. Okay, so historical revisionism may sometimes is what we are calling um a correction of data, right? So we correct the data if there are data, and then we try to, if there are no data coming in and proving that the original narrative of that history is not correct, then that is what we call a revisionism, and we study the data and reinterpret it and come up with a consensus that maybe that is correct. Okay, so that is revisionism, different from what we're calling negationism. Negationism is when we are trying to negate. Okay, when we are trying to say that what the history that is being spread or being used or being accepted by the general public is not true. That is negationism. All right. Now, it's very difficult to do things at the same time. All right. So, there are, like I said, there are facts, data of history that as time goes by is proven to be wrong. Looking back at the history of the Philippines, say, it's not actually wrong, but then if we are going to look at this story in the political rivalry of Andres Bonifacio and Emilio Aguinaldo, during that time, it was not known. I mean, the earlier times that Emilio Aguinaldo approved that Andres Bonifacio should be killed, right? Well, in his memoir, he accepted that one of the biggest mistakes he made during his administration is the approval of the execution of Andres Bonifacio. And then, another example of revisionism is there are a lot of data coming out nowadays showing that Emilio Aguinaldo is actually not the first president of the First Republic. He became a president eventually. Yes, he did, but it is through evidence, through the re-examination of data, we are clearly seeing right now that Andres Bonifacio may be the first president of the Republic of the Philippines, the First Republic of the Philippines, because accordingly, even the Spanish or even the Spaniards recognized him as Presidente or El Presidente. This is a high, still debatable until now, and maybe soon it will be established as real history. But right now, evidences gathered are strongly inclined to support that Andres Bonifacio might be our unang pangulo. Right? So that's history revisionism. We'll try to revise mistakes, maybe that was widely accepted before because of the lack of data. But now there are datas coming in, new datas, and if after studying it, and if we accept that this new data is acceptable, then we can revise this history that we know and accept this new truth that we have. So that's revisionism, right? Now, we go to historical negationism. Negationism. Wow, it's very difficult to. So, historical negationism is also called historical denial. It is a falsification and distortion of historical record. It should not be conflated with historical revisionism, a broader term that extends a newly evidenced, fairly recent academic reinterpretation of history. So, okay, just to repeat again, historical revisionism is reinterpretation of historical account. It usually involves challenging the orthodox or the usual accepted history or views, and then introducing contrary evidence or reinterpreting the motivation and decision of people involved. The revision of historical record can reflect new discoveries, facts, evidence, interpretation, which then result to a revised history. That's what I'm talking a while back when we say revisionism, right? Now, it's totally different with what we are calling the historical negationism, wherein we are denying, we're trying to, what is strongly supported by the evidence is that we're trying to distort it. Okay. We're trying to distort it, and we're trying to present new technique, I mean new evidence that can that is maybe fake, that is maybe a forged document, things like that. Nowadays, maybe a doctored video, a doctored audio recordings, things like that. So that is historical negationism. Now, why am I so? Why did I spend like a lot of minutes discussing this one? Well, because nowadays this is a hot topic, like I said, because of the Made in Malacanang, wherein um, it is a movie depicting the last hours of the Marcos family during the martial law. Now, a lot of people are tweeting like, "No to historical revisionism." No, maybe what you're trying to say is no to historical negationism. Ayo, narigat naman English ba mo? All right. So, maybe what you're trying to say is no to historical negationism or denialism. Now, for those people supporting the Marcos or President Marcos, don't get me wrong. I personally have voted for Ferdinand Marcos Jr. as the president of this country. Now, his leadership has nothing to do with the history. I'll get to that later. But for now, we will talk about this matter here before I'll explain myself about why I chose him as the president and why I'm so against what's happening right now. All right, black coffee. It's good. For those who are listening right now while I'm doing this podcast, I'm already finished drinking my black coffee. It's Benguet blend. All right. So, historical negationism. This is maybe what's happening right now, prevalent in the social media, wherein they're showing like a video of evidence showing that Marcos really did good things during the martial law. I'm talking about the old Marcos, Ferdinand Marcos Sr. has created a lot of things that made that era the golden years of in the history of the Philippines. That is according to these people trying to revise history. You know, all I can say is that if that is corroborated or supported by the evidence in, I mean, evidence through our financial corporation, financial part of the government, and the judicial part. I mean, the justice system of the government and all of the media, because you cannot buy or you cannot pay all media companies to just preach or publish news that is against the Marcoses. That is absurd. Nobody, no one's that kind of rich. No one's that. I mean, no one is so rich in the Philippines that can do that. You know. Well, we don't know, but it seems to be so impossible that all media companies during the martial law era are so easily swayed by the Aquino family to go against Marcos. Well, there are also people who are pro Marcos. Well, they have their personal reasons for that. But if we're talking about history, these things here are recorded. These things are corroborated by all people in the world. There's no such thing as a conglomerate of people who will go against someone just to destroy his good leadership. I don't think that is so absurd to think. And if there's an organization like that here in the Philippines, the nature of our politics itself, wherein politicians are sometimes friends and sometimes worst enemies, those kinds of secret will easily come out just in a blink of an eye. Conspiracies to do conspiracies to do things against the leader can easily come out. Look what's happening to all those, like, say for example, Estrada, who actually be- was actually uh, his career as a as a politician, it was, basically like executed by Chavit Singh Son. So there's nobody in the political arena can hide a secret. Now, a grand secret like that of toppling the Marcos regime. I mean, it's conspiracies of the rich because Marcos is trying to help the poor. That conspiracy is, it's very hard to believe. So that is the reason why I am inclined to believe that Marcos, during the martial law and during those times, has brought the Philippines down to its knees. Now, President Fidel V. Ramos stated before that Marcos's reign as the president is actually quite good in the first during his first term, and then the first 3 years of martial law. If I'm not mistaken, I'm paraphrasing here, but that's what Fidel V. Ramos said. No, one of those who opposed, uh, went against Marcos and dethroned him. He said that during the first year, first 3 years of the martial law, and it's good because people are disciplined. So, if you look at it, the first term of his first term, Ferdinand Edrelin Marcos, and then the first 3 years of martial law, because martial law was proclaimed for the reason that the communist group in the Philippines is becoming stronger, right? It's one of the reason, and of course there are some other reasons. My memory is so weak now to remember what are those reasons, but that is the sole reason, one of the major reason why it was proclaimed, martial law was proclaimed, right? And the first 3 years, accordingly, even Juan Enrile is saying that the first 3 years is actually good, right? But then as time goes by, and then there are some changes. Of course, President Edwin Marcos, you cannot blame him. He's a human. And we have the saying that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. The longer you held that power, or the longer you stay in power, okay, the more that it will corrupt your thinking. It will eat your soul, it will eat your spirit, it will eat your entire humanity. Maybe that's what happened to him. Maybe during the first term as the president, he has this good mind of helping people. First 3 years, he has this, of course, first years of martial law. Of course, it's all about the Philippines. And then as time goes by, he forgot the reason why he is there. He forgot that people have chosen him to stay there to help the Philippines, help the country, right? So that's maybe the reason. And then the presidency, that position is, it is on the top, and you cannot micromanage anything. Every moving part cannot be micromanaged. He cannot micromanage. He cannot manage all of it, right? So the government machine has a lot of moving parts wherein Ferdinand Marcos Sr. has no control of it, right? So that's one of the reasons why, maybe another reason why it is absolutely being or becoming ultimately corrupt. Or we have what they're calling the cronies, or people around him who are, doing things for their personal gain, right? Like in the word of former President Fidel V. Ramos, mining. That's mine, that's mine, that's mine. It's mining daw. Akin yun, akin yan. Alright, so that is my view on that one. So do you believe that during the martial law, it is the worst time of our country in the history? Yes, I do. Because there are evidence showing that. Now, there are these videos coming out of Marcos advised Cory Aquino of this one and that one to do this because in 20 years time Philippines will be in shambles, things like that. Well, he knows it. Marcos is a visionary. He knows that one. And it's maybe that's true. Maybe she did it. Maybe he did it. And he did advise Corazon, but Corazon did not accept it. And then another part of being a human, wherein Corazon she's not a leader. First of all, she's just a housewife who was suddenly thrown into the position. And she has her reasons of not doing things, right? Again, we don't have we have those datas, and then we have to corroborate. Kind of lost there, but then excuse me. In terms of believing that the Marcos has ill-gotten wealth, again, there are no proofs, they say, but we can see those records by looking at the media archives. Maybe we can. So, just to cut this short, we can say generally, yes, they made a mistake. Marcoses made a mistake. President Ferdinand Marcos made a mistake uh, he did some great things for the Philippines. He made a mistake. Okay, maybe he committed fraud by claiming he um, he had an award during the World War II, things like that. But then just put it in the bottom line that they made a mistake, as proven, regardless of what are we, what the world is seeing right now. Okay, like I said, only time can tell if there's some truth on it. Now, like I said before, the truth will come out no matter how long it will take. It will always come out. Now, maybe some people will say that I think that this is the time that the truth is coming out, and then showing some video. Maybe we don't know. But then we need more than a video. We need more than that to contradict the narratives of the martial law. Okay? Because if we will believe immediately those things, okay, a lot of people will, of course, come out also to show that martial law is a nightmare for them about the victims of the human rights violation conducted by the military during those times. You know, it's not personally Marcos that did that, but it is under his, leadership. So, like I said, a lot of people should be blamed because of those things, worst things that happened during the martial law. But then again, the buck will always end at the throne. At the seat or the position of the president. So it always goes back to Ferdinand Marcos Sr. That's it. Now, so you're saying these things. Maybe you're saying these things. A lot of these things you're saying that they did something wrong, and then why did you voted for Marcos? Because it is my point of view that, like Normus Suarez said, the child should not bear the sins of the father, and we share the same point of view. President Ramos also said that he has nothing against the children of Ferdinand Marcos Sr. The person who should answer on the sins of the former president Ferdinand Marcos Sr. is the former First Lady Imelda, because he knows what happened during that time. Maybe he's part of them even accordingly, allegedly. Now, why did I voted for Marcos? Because I believe his campaign strategy made me or convinced me. Their campaign slogan of unity is a good word to hear, and I hope that will last for 6 years, unifying all the political parties to work together for the Philippines. Oh my goodness. Now, I believe that he wants that to happen. What I want him, all the Marcos's family, starting from him, going to his sons who are also politicians now, young at that, the early 20s, late 20s, I think, and they became a congressman. One of them. Now, what should they do? In my opinion, what can they do? To make their names good again. To clean or redeem their names, their good names, is that they work for the people. That's the thing that they should do. They should work, do the work that was given to them by the people and just leave history as is. You know? Now, so are you saying that they should not been consulted with the in the movie Made in Malacanang, because I think they it's also their narrative. It's part of the narrative. No, no, no. It's their freedom to share their side. Nobody's nobody's going against that. They can always they're free to share their side. And Made in Malacanang is maybe a good entertainment for all of us. Remember, that is a movie. Movie is an entertainment. Now, if there is some truth on it, then it's up for us to discern if it's really true or not. But what I'm trying to say here is that they should, in my opinion, they should leave history and leave the people, leave the historians to discern what really happened during the time of their father and not try to revise it. Just they should just clean. I mean, redeem. If they want to redeem their names, clean their names. They can just work and do things for the Philippines that will leave them or give them a good legacy, right? That work for the country, and their work will be the one to totally erase what happened in the past. The history of Apulacay, Ferdinand Marcos Sr. will always be there. Okay, it will always be debated. Okay, there will be a historical negationism that will be coming out. There will be historical revisionism if there are, and I think historians should also look at it, look at the data being presented maybe, and try to see where it fits in the original narrative of history. But for negationism, like I said, maybe that will be very very popular now, but truth will always come out, no matter how long it will take. Truth will always come out. Maybe historical negationism, maybe it will be accepted now, but it will be, will be covered. I mean, the truth will come out in the future, and it doesn't really matter. you know, it's not worth arguing. Okay, so when we try to show the story and claim it as the real history, we have to make sure that it really is a history, or you'll be just wasting our time, okay, preaching about it. So, my opinion, Marcoses of these days should just work. They have a good platform. People believe them. Just work and do good things as taught by your father, as you are always claiming that. Of course, your father did taught you good things. Your parents did taught you good things. And just use that one. Help the country. Work on it. Leave history to people to decide, to the historians. Leave it to them. Of course, you're free to express yourself on your views of what happened during those days. I am not there. I don't know what happened. So it is also good to hear your side of the story, right? Now, this Made in Malacanang is also a way of showing that their side. It's always good to listen to their side of what happened, because what we always saw are the things happening outside Malacanang. It's nice to see what's happening inside Malacanang. Of course, there are some embellishment. Of course, there will always be some embellishment. A lot of us, it's our nature, it's human nature that if we tell stories, we put some, you put some artistry on it to make sure that we look good. All of us do that one. Even me, even you is listening. So nothing is safe. I mean, nothing is exempted in that rule. All of us human do those things. So and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Let's take it as entertainment. Well, if you want to take it as the real truth, as the gospel truth, then it's up to you. You know. But then, at the end of the day, like I said, general rule, truth will always come out, and our belief, maybe it's different from yours. My belief is different from yours, and still, at the end of the day, we are all Filipino, and a good discussion of our history is better than barking at each other in Twitter, in the social media, and calling others names, saying others, telling that the other side is stupid, things like that. We will end up to nothing if we do that. It's a good thing to just sit down. I mean, or just listen to each other and share your side of the story. Again, like I said, I voted for Marcos, but then the history of the martial law, for me, the one that is written in the book right now is the one that I accept, and it is the one that I believe. Well, I believe that some of the things that in the Aquino administration is, somewhat not good at all. Yeah, that's my opinion too. There are some failures, starting from the mother, bless her soul, and from the son, bless his soul, made some mistakes. Of course, they did. They're human, right? And it's just that's it. I believe the history of martial law that is generally accepted before and until now, that's what I believe. And it's my point of view. And like I said, again, I voted for Marcos because I believe in his leadership. I believe he can do good things for the Philippines. And I believe that the sins of the father should not be passed on, should not be handled by the son. Historical records. Historical records of martial law. Where can we find those things? Where can we find those? I mean, just remember, in the Igorot Highlands, in the Igorot Nation, just remember Makling Dulag and Father Conrado Balwag. Remember those people. Anyway, this is just me rambling about history, historical revisionism and negationism. And again, so what can you say then? Are you going to advise everyone to watch Made in Malacanang? Yes, of course. Go and watch it. It's up to you. Again, the Marcoses are free to express their side, whether you agree on them, whether you agree on their narratives or not. They're free to do that. And if you believe it, I respect you. If you don't believe it, I also respect you. It's just that, it's just like that, as simple as that. It's the first thing that we should remember, and I think it's the thing that is missing nowadays. Respecting each other's opinion, right? So, again, this is El Maestro Speaks, talking about history, historical revisionism, and historical negationism. And before I go, here is another sponsor for us. This podcast is brought to you by Millennial TECH. Millennial TECH at ma-repair the printer, man-install the CCTV, repair the cellular phone, computer, and other electrical appliances. For more information, mabali na ibisita nyo da at Kubo Building, Proper Abatan, Bugyas, Benguet. Or you can contact them through their cell phone number 0910-255-0382, or you can visit their Facebook page, Millennial TECH. And we are back again. Thank you so much for listening. And of course, we'll be seeing you again next topic. Okay. Hope we can have a guest soon, so we can have a break in doing solo podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Always, this is El Maestro. Take care and God bless.